They were just ready to kill each other over this addition. And on the fly, I recognized that the husband was telling me all about what the wife wanted and how that was terribly wrong. And the wife was telling me all about what the husband wanted and how that was terribly wrong, and how her way would be better. And he was saying how his way would be better. So I still play hockey, and I blew the whistle. I said, okay, everybody, stop.
Hello, this is Michael Travis. Thanks for tuning into the Waterfront Agent Podcast. Today's guest is Tony Fallon. He is an architect and principal of Tony Fallon Architecture, working in both residential and commercial design with extensive experience across a broad range of projects. He also serves as board chair of White Horse Recovery, a faith-based nonprofit that assists individuals facing mental health and addiction challenges regardless of their ability to pay. What I can say, if I've known Tony for a long time and I've seen his work, and so now we get to talk about it. Okay, so Tony, I've known you for a long time. I've seen your work. It's very versatile. And of course, in waterfronts, you've done some wonderful things, but in commercial properties. Why don't we start with a little bit of history of yourself? What got you into the whole business of designing architecture?
It's actually a fun story. I just a basic high school kid, fall on the bouncing ball. We worked every summer at Hampton Beach, 6 days a week for family business at the Rexall drugstore. Eventually, we had an oceanfront house, and so it was really pretty cool childhood. Phil Tambling actually designed our first house. There's a fairly well-known firm in the area, TMS, and the T is Phil Tambling. But in any event, one summer day, my dad said, hey, what are you going to do after high school? I said, I don't know, because I just went to school. I played hockey. I worked at the store in the summer. I hadn't really thought too far ahead. And he just thought that his recommendation to me for who I was, my personality, was to try to be, in his words, a professional man. I like people to like me, so lawyer was out. And I stunk at chemistry, so forget about doctor. So it's just a process of elimination, trade architecture, and wound up being something that has been a really good fit. I've really enjoyed it, and I like both sides of it. I like residential, but commercial too. I'm trying to do a little bit more focus on residential this stage of my career, and went to college and got out and started working, and here I am. So it's been a very nice way. It's given me a lot of flexibility, especially once the computer came in. We had some special needs in my family. It gave me an ability to be able to be fairly flexible, to be able to help with some of that. And it's very rewarding. People, when it's all said and done, it's just so many nice conversations, nice notes, appreciation.
So we had a little bit of a conversation about a lot of both of our jobs is therapy.
Yes. Yeah. And so what I had shared with you, it was happenstance, but I walked into a couple one time where I had known for a very long time, and at least I knew the husband for a long time. There's just sweetest guy in the world. And I walked into World War III. They were just ready to kill each other over this addition. And on the fly, I recognized that the husband was telling me all about what the wife wanted and how that was terribly wrong. And the wife was telling me all about what the husband wanted and how that was terribly wrong, and how her way would be better. And he was saying how his way would be better. So I still play hockey, and I blew the whistle. I said, okay, everybody, stop. Okay, husband, you can tell me about your needs, wants, and constraints. And wife, you can tell me about your needs, wants, and constraints, but you may not tell me anything about what the other person is thinking, wanting. And I then was able to come back to them the next time with a common solution that they both loved. They just really both loved, and you can just see all the temperature go down. So what I recognized was that a lot of times what happens is you get half-baked solutions where, of course, sometimes it's more than a couple. And I use the same protocol on a church that I can share about in a few minutes. But if you can get people to flush and put aside their solutions and just get to needs. Okay, what do you need to have? What do you want? What would be like? What are the constraints? Dollars, time, setbacks, those kind of things. Just give me raw data and then let me come to you with some compositions and throw a few of them in front of you, and oftentimes they like it. So I specifically try to get to the raw data of as many users as I can. And similarly, in a much larger project, there was a church project that I was the third architect in. I didn't know this until many years later, but they had come into dead ends with a couple other architects and then brought me in. And in 2 weeks, we had a design, and part of it was, and they loved it, and it's got built. This was 23 years ago or so. Now we're actually looking at adding on to that church again and just finishing up a master plan. But I sought to get past the point people and get and talk to as many users as I could so I could get lots and lots of raw data. And as you said in the earlier clip, I'm the chairman of the board of a faith-based organization that helps people with navigate addiction and mental health, White Horse Recovery. We're in the northern part of New Hampshire, Ossipee, North Conway, Littleton, and Berlin. And in design, I try to hook up with the big architect. I try to do the way design and just try to say my prayers and let get some help there too.
I always believe that all conflict and disagreements and wars and divorces all come from one person trying to convince the other that they're right. So your first story of the husband saying this and the wife saying this, that's an example. But that could have been a war that turned into World War V. Forget 3 and 4.
Yeah, it was just so cool at the next meeting just to watch them go, oh, yep. The tension just completely evaporated. They were really pretty happy with it.
So I guess the old saying, a happy life is a happy wife, wasn't necessarily part of the equation.
Yeah, no, it was. The main thing to remember is to try to look out for everybody as you work towards solution. Mm-hmm. And the architect can help you do that. And then I guess one other kind of ditty that's I've used for many years, architects help you with composing a building versus compiling. The email is a compilation. You just bat it out in 2 or 3 minutes and away it goes. And the grammar might not be completely perfect. So that's a compilation. And there's a lot of people that will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a building and just get a compiled set of drawings versus a composed set of drawings. So architects help you work how the whole thing looks so the building itself is well composed, not just a bunch of jumbled $10,000 refrigerators, steam baths that are well composed. The whole thing is pretty in itself.
I've always felt people wonder, why do I need an architect? Now, I, of course, redid my house that you've seen, and it was a collection of changes and new directions, and there was no actual real plan. And the no plan was way better than what was there to begin with, for sure.
Oh, sure, of course.
But there was also a lot of duplication, redos, and whatnot. So mm-hmm. It seems like if you start that to begin with an architect with a vision, and then you can change a vision on paper, which is less expensive than changing it with a contractor.
Sure. Yeah, especially when it's concrete. Concrete's very hard to move.
Walls and roofs and things like that. So even though people might think it takes time, it's always more expensive to do something wrong than to do it right.
Yeah. Just think of DNA. We're pretty cool compositions ourselves, people, the hand, ears, brain, you can just look at a little part of us, but the whole person, each person is completely amazing, just blown away. I could never design a person, all right? Can't do it. But there's a little DNA code in there that our creators set it all up so that we all fall into the right place. The nose is here instead of over here, that kind of stuff. Architects help you get the DNA right. And yeah, no, it is certainly a lot of people just design their own thing, build their own thing. That's totally fine. I'm just trying to illustrate what the value is.
Of course, we all know our DNA gets worse and less with our hair.
Yes, we both have that same shiny top.
Yeah, as I pointed out, the DMV had the nerve of changing my driver's license to say gray from a different color. My wife is becoming a hairdresser, so she can change it to whatever color. But you can't do that on a house. Well, you can. It just gets worse. You don't build a house for it to turn into a tent. You can turn a tent into a house.
Yep. Although color is one of the things that is the biggest bang for the buck. Playing around paint, even though it's not $20 a gallon anymore, it's still a very inexpensive way to have some fun.
My inexpensive way to paint is you go with a section where they have paint that was the wrong color and say that looks good and it's $8 a gallon. But then you only have 1 gallon. So
that's a very nice color.
It's a very nice. I don't know why nobody wanted that chartreuse. Not to mention I don't even know how to spell chartreuse. So that's besides the point. So I also believe that we are all you gave me a little history of your life. We're all a product of our past and we just we keep building who we are. And you went from the family business to your own business. And how hard was that transition when, especially your business has your name in it?
Yeah, there's some sharing there that's worth sharing. I started out I went to RPI, Troy, New York. My wife's Russell Sage grad, so we both were at college in Troy, New York. And we almost met in Ireland, coincidentally, in 1979, 2 million years ago in the spring. I went to Ireland for an exchange and she went to England. And I lived at 190 South Circular Road. And at Easter, I went to visit my other classmates in Italy and Copenhagen. And she went from England to Ireland to visit her cousin at 191 South Circular Road. We didn't meet till 6 months later in Troy, New York for the first time at a party with some friends. But I started out working in Troy for 3 years for a nonprofit architectural firm, doing workforce housing in Troy at the bottom of the big bridge that many people are familiar with that brings you over from the Capital District now, to run into Route 9 and Route 4 and land over in Keene eventually. So right at the bottom of that bridge in Troy, there's like a 6-block section, and I spent 3 years making $4 an hour, which is $8,000 a year. Not a lot of money.
Wow, $4 an hour.
Yeah. And working for a nonprofit architectural firm. Of course, you talk to a lot of architects, you tell them that story, they go, wow, aren't we all nonprofit? But
nonprofit.
Anyways, I worked from there. I did a few years of work in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'd worked on some bigger projects for Mellon Bank headquarters, both in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Worked a couple of years in Connecticut, a couple of high rises there, and then came to New Hampshire and did 4 years in Durham with Bill Schoonmaker, who's not with us anymore. He's up in heaven. But anyways, I wound up, as I said, there's some special needs, and my wife's got 8 rare diseases, and 8, yeah. And we're a rare couple now too. I got my own rare disease that blew in a couple of years ago, MPO, ankylosing. Anyways, we were to see the governor day before yesterday because February 28th is Rare Disease Day, so somebody invited us over.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but because of her situation, I really needed I couldn't work for somebody else anymore. I had to hang my shingle. And I had a proposal out to do a project on the side for an oceanfront house that came through some networking with some friends from Hampton Beach that were in real estate. And the guy held on to the proposal for a month, and he got back to me just at a critical point where I just had to stop working as in a regular office. So I hung my shingle, did that job, and here I am. That was 1992, so 34 years later. Just kept going. That project led to another project, led to another project, and I always encourage people whenever they have been working for other people and they're understandably upset about having to go find another job. I'm like, I get hired and fired 40 times a year.
Yeah, I think job means just above broke.
Yeah.
When I started, I didn't actually work for somebody until after college because like many kids, I started cutting lawns and painting houses and plowing driveways and designing and silk screening T-shirts and driving. I was the original driving Miss Daisy chauffeur at a black Cadillac and an 86-year-old woman. And that was before I was 16. No, I had to be 16 to plow driveways, at least legally.
You got your driver's license at 14. How did we do that?
It's like it lived on a farm. I learned to drive a boat. I learned to drive a boat before a car because our family had an island up in Canada, which was 9 miles by boat to get to. But you also seem to make time for other people. So it'd be great to talk about, there's two things that you told me about, one of which is Whitehorse, and another is helping, skiing for...
Yeah, adaptive ski volunteering.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the adaptive ski volunteering we did for 12 or 15 years or so. My wife first went in as a customer, as a client at Waterville Valley, and then they were able to help her to the point where we flipped around and became volunteers helping others for about 8 years there. And then we did Gunstock for some amount of time. And then we did 1 year at King Pine. So 3 mountains in New Hampshire. So it was very rewarding. With adaptive skiing, you're helping people who wouldn't normally be able to go skiing by assisting them just with your person or any kind of number of equipment. I'm sure people have seen the sit skis where there's a seat and then either 2 skis under it or 1 ski under it. But there's all kinds of hundreds of other pieces of equipment. The goal is always to use as little of equipment and assist as possible and help the people do it on their own to the degree you can. Because we love parenting, we love grandparenting. We tended to get a lot of autistic kids because not all the adults still had patience for children. And I had a really fun case that I see once in a while. I'm on a Mac platform, and my screensaver just flips through pictures from what I call my family album. And Brianna, I see her skiing there, and that was such a fun story. Our volunteers had given up on her. She lived in Waterville Valley, like this 10-year-old kid with special needs. And so typically, as all that she would ever do ski-wise was to be guided up and down just a very slight incline by the occupational therapist when all the other kids were up skiing. But the OT wasn't in one day, and I happened to be hanging around in the office, and they came in a panic. Would somebody go out with Brianna? And anyways, that worked out so well. We eventually got her skiing on her own, and her father was a ski instructor. So he then started helping us. So that was cool. And then Whitehorse Recovery, I was asked by our first therapist to do some pro bono drawings, some free architectural drawings. And I did that and took about 6 months, went to war with the state of New Hampshire, finally got it improved, and then they did something entirely different. So that was funny. But then I did a bunch of other free drawings, and then they said, hey, you want to be on the board? And I said, sure. And then what do? They said, go find money. Said, oh, thanks a lot.
So free, and you need to get money.
And then despite my best efforts, I wound up last year becoming the chair. I kept trying to put somebody else in front of me as the target was coming along, but I got snagged. But it's a great organization. We're about a $2 million budget, just shy of that, 30 employees. We cover northern part of New Hampshire, physical locations, Ossipee, North Conway, Littleton, and Berlin. And my big thing, my contribution, just as far as verbiage goes, is to look at this as people navigating addiction, not look at addicts. It's not a disease that we're trying to help.
Right.
We're trying to help people. And the people just happen to have addiction to navigate or mental health or what have you. So anyways, still play hockey, we ski, we skate, we snowshoe, we swim, bike, paddleboard. Paddleboarding has been great because ballroom dancing didn't work because the guy has to lead, and my wife wasn't all about that. But we can paddleboard together.
That's good.
And the White Horse Recovery gives me a team to help build up, and we're really poised to do some good growth to help people.
That's wonderful. As you can see, I'm in Thailand.
I know, Mike's making me hungry here.
That's right. My shameless promotion is a restaurant I own, which is My Thai Bistros in Rochester. But I really do my own promotions. I have a mug that says I'm not the only loon in the lake because I do a lot of waterfronts. So because my wife is from Thailand, I decided to take her to Cannon Mountain. And I said, we weren't married at the time. And Canon, I think, had like on Wednesdays, it's like $25. And so I said, just say you can't get there from here. It didn't go well with her accent. So they didn't believe she was from New Hampshire with jet black hair, and she's Thai. But my experience in skiing, I learned on landfills because Michigan doesn't really have mountains.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and then I went to the film festival, Park City, and I figured I'd have to take a lesson because I was going to create an avalanche that would bury all the stars of the world. So I took a 2-hour lesson, and that's when I discovered, growing up, why didn't we ever have short skis? Because I grew up, again, skiing on a landfill.
Sure. That's so funny.
Skis that were like 9 feet long, and if you're uncoordinated trying to turn a 9 foot long, doing a snowplow, you fall face forward with your legs crossed backwards, and you can't get up. and of course, the challenges of golf, I can create a bunker with a 7-iron, no problem. And I did do one charity golf thing, which is a mistake. However, I did learn that there's always prizes for first place and for last place. I got all the extra balls, but but getting out and doing different things. Of course, I have an affinity to waterfront properties because I think it incorporates life. I think lake life is life. And I remember seeing a house that you had done where the chimney had a hole in the middle of it, which is correct. I thought that was such a cool idea. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, and that was a little bit of a team effort too. That house wound up getting a splash in Yankee magazine when it was a little format, the smaller format, and Inc. magazine. It's really fun. But the story of the chimney goes, we had a stair wrapping around the back of it, a curved stair that wrapped around it, and the fireplace at the bottom of it and the chimney were all exposed to a 2-story cathedral kind of space facing the lake, a living room. And I went to the mason and I said, hey, do you think we could do some niches on this so that they can put little bric-a-brac in? And because it's a big feature there. And he said, hey, what do you think of this? And I was like, I'm in. So he came up with the idea of one very large niche with the flues going up on either side of it.
It's such a cool idea. It's a see-through fireplace, but on the second floor.
Yeah, but also it allows, as the stair wraps around the back, it's set to be at eye level. So as you pass behind the fireplace, you can look out to the lake through a portal.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really cool. You get to see. Yeah. It actually inspired me on a house I had in Northwood where I had a bathroom. I had little square windows going outside, and then there's a staircase, and then I had a bathroom. And I put a square window that lined up directly with the square. I got a square opening in the bathroom that lined up with the square window. So from the bathroom, you could see the lake.
Cool.
But I had to make sure there's glass because nobody wanted a bathroom an open bathroom.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
So I did see a house that had saloon doors going into the bathroom. That seemed like a bad idea. I'm not sure you would design that.
No, not typically, unless there was
Especially
definitely
next to the kitchen, but
we'd have to have the private toilet stall for that, I think.
yes. Um, although there's a restaurant in Wolfboro, which is now the Creperie Seven Sons, where they used to have a glass door going into the bathroom.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Remember that? And but
Yeah.
you would go in and then you turn the thing and it would white out. But I
Right.
think a lot of people got nervous about that. And I did see there's also a design in London of a public toilet in the middle of the sidewalk that is a one-way mirror. So on the outside it's a mirror, but from the inside you feel like you're in a glass tube. That's
It's funny to talk about the toilets. As an architect just starting out on the commercial side, you wind up doing a lot of toilet drawings just because it's mundane. It's got to be done. And then I've gone in and helped out here and there. Or House in Portsmouth. You probably know them.
oh, that's nice, yeah.
Yeah, they needed help, and they're one of the owners had the restaurant right next to our family drugstore at Hampton Beach, and then he wound up getting involved in the Your House, so he called me up. We need help with our toilets. So I was kidding that I was going to have to start a new division, Tony's Toilets, but
Okay,
anyways,
it's a talent. Nobody else is Tony's toilets.
yeah, there we go, there we go.
That's good. I lived in New York City for 16 years, 16 to 50 years, depending on how you look at it. And there was a really nice hotel that had the bathroom was completely reflective. The toilet, everything was like mirror. You had to be the urinal, everything was like mirrored. And it was
Yeah,
like you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself to go to the bathroom there.
yeah. Another thing that I helped just in Wolfboro in the local world, a guy that I'd done a lot of work with, Greg Rourke, didn't like the town was going to build a whole nother toilet right next to one that we had down near the town docks. So I was able to gain the same number of fixtures just by reworking the toilet that was already there attached to a restaurant, which allows a great big beautiful planting area that's just so pretty.
And
Sometimes, and I
I
credit,
know
it's funny, I credit, I'm sorry, what's
I
that,
know
Mike?
it because it's a public toilet that nobody knows about, so you can always get in
Yeah.
on the side. Yeah.
It's funny. One fun story that I do credit just as far as how I got into this. I created a lot of my abilities at doing the three-dimensional thinking to a 1 month trip that our family of 8 took around the country, staying in Holiday Inns and station wagon, 6 kids, mom and dad, and there was a U-Haul box on top that I was the one in charge of loading it and unloading it every day. So that's how I got my three-dimensional. Okay, this is how this can fit in.
Oh, yeah, that's good. So our family had the turquoise motorhome you could see from space to travel all over the place.
Yeah.
But in my advertising days, I worked on the Holiday Inn account.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it was my entree into whatever. How the holiday.
Waterfront design or waterfront real estate agent.
So do you know what the Holiday Inn started as?
No.
A furniture business.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So it was a way for them to sell a lot of furniture.
Yeah.
But it created a whole industry, a travel industry.
Oh, wow.
And there's some famous celebrities who are blind, and they liked Holiday Inn because everyone was the same. So they knew where the
I
bed was, they
understand.
knew where the toilet was. So it's like,
Boy, talk about trust. That was something when I did a little bit of blind guiding with the adaptive skiing. And to practice, we would just grab another person by the arm, another volunteer, and say, okay, close your eyes. I'm going to guide you around just like the hallway in the lodge. And man, oh man, while I was being guided around, not being able to see, that takes a lot of trust. But
we did that in my little church group growing up where you fall backwards.
yeah.
There were people clearly I couldn't trust. They landed on my back.
Yeah.
Or I couldn't trust anymore.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else that you want everyone in the world to know your little secrets that nobody knows, and it's just between you and I, so I won't tell anybody?
No, I've got to actually,
Oh,
we
you got to
have a
go.
thing, I have to get going another time. We can get into insulation
Oh,
and some other, ice dams is a big topic. People in New England at least think about this time of year. So we could, if we do this again, we could probably hit on some of those.
a lot of what you do is really almost like about energy efficient homes, and I think that's
Yeah,
something it's a huge talent to
yeah.
know, because I've run into, even with my house, which started as a 1930s kit house and was the ugliest house in recorded history,
Oh, you guys have done a nice job with it.
but it was like when it came to trying to figure out how to heat it, you go to different people and they had all kinds of $25,000 solutions. Didn't need to be,
And just print
but
that, just a very quick stat. I did a assisted care facility in Madbury, New Hampshire, and it was so well insulated that the heating and air conditioning plant stuff was like a quarter of the size it would normally be. And it just made such a huge difference.
yeah, the long term,
Yeah,
absolutely long term. And I had to study a lot of it myself, because the thing about lake houses, you have lots of big windows. The thing about
yeah,
a lot of big windows, it's cold.
it is. But
So,
anyways, I do have to keep my boss happy.
yeah,
I
thank you,
appreciate this.
thank you so much, Tony, and or Anthony, depending on if you want to
Yeah,
charge
how
more or
much
not.
trouble I'm in.
That's right. I always look forward to talking to you, and you have a
Yeah,
great.
likewise, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
You too. Bye now. Thanks for tuning in to the Waterfront Agent Podcast. I'll be back with some more stories, tips, and expert interviews, and hopefully some humor. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.